Welcome, listeners, to a new episode of our podcast, where today we delve into a topic often shrouded in mystery and controversy: Satanism. Our journey today is not one of sensationalism, but of understanding and objectivity. We embark on an exploration of a subject that, for many, remains on the fringes of their understanding, clouded by myth and misconceptions. Satanism, a term that instantly evokes a spectrum of reactions, is far from a monolithic belief system. To unravel its complexities, we must first understand its branches. The most known division lies between theistic Satanism and LaVeyan Satanism. Theistic Satanism, as the name suggests, involves the worship of Satan as a deity, a figure representing rebellion and free will. It's a path less traveled but rich in spiritual and mystical traditions. In contrast, LaVeyan Satanism, founded by Anton LaVey in the 1960s, stands on the other end of the spectrum. It doesn't involve the worship of Satan as a supernatural being. Instead, it celebrates Satan as a symbol of certain human traits, such as individualism, pride, and enlightenment. This form of Satanism is atheistic, viewing Satan as a metaphor for personal freedom and self-empowerment. Our aim today is to demystify Satanism. We'll strive to understand why individuals are drawn to these beliefs and practices, and we'll confront head-on the stereotypes and misconceptions. The label of evil has long been associated with Satanism, but is this a fair assessment? Are these beliefs inherently malevolent, or is there more to understand beneath the surface? Join us as we embark on this journey of discovery, seeking insights and challenging preconceptions. To understand Satanism as it is known today, we must journey back through time, to its ancient roots and evolution. The concept of Satanism is deeply entwined with the history of humanity's belief in gods, demons, and the personification of evil. The earliest roots of Satanism, or at least the figure of Satan, can be traced back to pre-Christian religions and mythology. Figures resembling Satan appear in various forms across different cultures. For example, in ancient Persian mythology, Angra Mainyu or Ahriman was a destructive spirit opposing the good deity Ahura Mazda, symbolizing the eternal struggle between good and evil. As Christianity began to spread, these ancient figures morphed into what we now recognize as Satan, a symbol of evil and adversary to the Christian God. The Christian Bible's Old Testament refers to Satan, but it's in the New Testament that he becomes more prominently the embodiment of all that is evil. Moving forward into the Middle Ages, the fear of Satan and witchcraft led to a dark period of witch hunts and trials. This era solidified Satan's image as a fearsome and malevolent force in the collective consciousness of European society. Yet, ironically, during this time, there was no organized worship of Satan. The Satanism feared by the church was largely a projection of their own fears. The concept of Satanism as a distinct belief system only truly began to take shape with the advent of modernity. The Enlightenment era, with its emphasis on reason and skepticism, saw figures like the poet William Blake, who used satanic imagery to critique the repressive aspects of organized religion. But it was not until the 20th century that Satanism began to emerge as a formalized philosophy or religion. The most pivotal figure in this development was Anton LaVey, who founded the Church of Satan in 1966. LaVey's Satanic Bible, published in 1969, became the cornerstone of modern Satanism, particularly LaVeyan Satanism. LaVey's Satanism was atheistic, using Satan as a symbol of human traits like pride, liberty, and individualism. LaVey's theatrical and often provocative style of leadership brought both notoriety and public interest. The Church of Satan under LaVey was more about embracing human nature and individualism than about worshiping an actual deity. Throughout the latter part of the 20th century and into the 21st, Satanism continued to evolve. Groups like the Satanic Temple, founded in the early 2010s, have used satanic imagery to promote secularism and social activism, particularly the separation of church and state. This new wave of Satanism focuses less on the supernatural and more on political and social issues. The history of Satanism is as complex as it is controversial. From its ancient origins to its modern incarnations, it has been a mirror reflecting humanity's deepest fears and desires. As we continue to explore this topic, we find that the reality of Satanism is far more nuanced than the caricatures often presented in popular culture. As we delve deeper into the world of Satanism, it becomes evident that its theological beliefs are as varied as they are misunderstood. Today, we explore the two primary branches of Satanism, theistic Satanism and LaVeyan Satanism, each with its unique perspective on spirituality, morality, and the figure of Satan. Theistic Satanism, often shrouded in mystery and misconception, revolves around the worship of Satan as a real deity. Unlike the malevolent figure portrayed in Christian theology, Satan here is revered as a symbol of freedom, knowledge, and rebellion against tyrannical authority. Theistic Satanists view their path as a spiritual one, where Satan is a liberator and a guide. The beliefs and practices in theistic Satanism can vary widely. Some see Satan as a figure akin to the Promethean hero, bringing knowledge and enlightenment to humanity. Others may draw inspiration from older pagan deities, reinterpreting them as aspects of Satan. Rituals and ceremonies, often deeply personal, are used as a means of connecting with this spiritual force. Morality in theistic Satanism is not dictated by absolute laws but rather is individualistic and subjective. Theistic Satanists often advocate for personal responsibility and the pursuit of one's true will. This path emphasizes personal development, spiritual exploration, and the challenging of societal norms. Turning to LaVeyan Satanism, we find a starkly different interpretation. Founded by Anton LaVey in 1966, the Church of Satan represents a materialistic and atheistic philosophy, where Satan is not a deity to be worshipped but a symbol. This symbol represents pride, liberty, and individualism. LaVeyan Satanism is grounded in the belief that humans are inherently selfish creatures and that this selfishness should be embraced rather than shunned. The Satanic Bible, LaVey's seminal work, outlines the core tenets of this belief system. It includes the 9 satanic statements, which emphasize earthly, carnal existence over spiritual delusions. Rituals in LaVeyan Satanism, often misinterpreted by outsiders, are seen as psychodramas, serving to cleanse emotional baggage and reinforce one's personal goals. They are not meant to invoke supernatural beings but to use symbolism and theatrics to create an emotional release. Morality in LaVeyan Satanism is based on the principle of responsibility to the responsible rather than on external moral codes. This branch of Satanism advocates for self-preservation, personal achievement, and critical thinking. It challenges the conventions of altruism and spiritual dogmas, positioning humans as their own gods, masters of their own lives and destinies. Theistic and LaVeyan Satanism, though vastly different in their approach to the figure of Satan and the nature of their practices, share a common thread of challenging established norms and encouraging individual exploration and thought. Both paths, in their unique ways, invite adherents to question the world around them and find their own truths. In today's segment, we delve into the realm of societal perceptions and misconceptions surrounding Satanism. The portrayal of Satanism in media, literature, and popular culture has significantly shaped public opinion, often leading to widespread misunderstandings about its true nature. The media's portrayal of Satanism has often been sensational and steeped in mystique. Movies and books have depicted Satanists as shadowy figures engaged in malevolent rituals, fostering a narrative of fear and evil. Films like The Omen and Rosemary's Baby presented Satanism as linked with supernatural horror, further embedding the stereotype of Satanists as ominous and malevolent. These dramatized portrayals, while gripping and entertaining, are far from the reality of Satanist beliefs and practices. The media's fascination with the occult has led to a skewed public perception, where the complexity of Satanist philosophy is overshadowed by the allure of the macabre. This sensationalism reached a fever pitch during the satanic panic of the 1980s and 1990s, a period marked by widespread fear of satanic ritual abuse. Fueled by media reports and high-profile court cases, the panic saw innocent people accused of horrific crimes, simply because of their supposed involvement with Satanism. This period exemplifies the dangerous consequences of misinformation and mass hysteria. Moving beyond the silver screen and sensational headlines, let's address some of the most common misconceptions about Satanism. Perhaps the most persistent myth is that Satanists engage in evil rituals, including animal or human sacrifices. This couldn't be further from the truth. Both theistic and LaVeyan Satanism condemn harm to others, advocating for personal responsibility and ethical behavior. Another widespread misconception is the belief that Satanism is synonymous with criminal activity. While the media has often linked Satanism with crime, there is no evidence to suggest that Satanists, as a group, are more inclined toward criminal behavior than followers of any other belief system. The misrepresentation of Satanism has also led to the conflation of satanic beliefs with cult-like practices. In reality, most forms of Satanism promote individualism and critical thinking, principles that are fundamentally at odds with the blind obedience typically associated with cults. It is important to recognize that the fear and stigma surrounding Satanism are often products of misunderstanding and misinformation. The sensationalized portrayal of Satanism has overshadowed the philosophical and symbolic aspects of these beliefs, creating a barrier to genuine understanding. As we continue to explore Satanism, it becomes clear that the reality is much more nuanced than the stereotypes. Unraveling these misconceptions is crucial in fostering a more informed and tolerant perspective of this often misunderstood belief system. In today's segment, we delve into the personal stories of individuals who identify with Satanism. These interviews offer a glimpse into the diverse beliefs and experiences within the community, emphasizing that Satanism is not a monolithic belief system but a rich tapestry of individual journeys. Our journey begins with Sarah, a theistic Satanist. Sarah views Satan not as the embodiment of evil, as traditionally depicted, but as a symbol of knowledge and personal empowerment. Her practice involves solitary rituals, which she describes as deeply spiritual and introspective, allowing her to connect with a greater sense of self in the universe. For Sarah, Satanism is a path of liberation from societal constraints and a celebration of personal freedom. Contrasting Sarah's beliefs, we meet John, a follower of LaVeyan Satanism. John's perspective is rooted in the material world, viewing Satan purely as a symbol rather than a deity. He emphasizes the importance of self-reliance, personal achievement, and critical thinking. LaVeyan Satanism, for John, is about challenging the status quo and embracing one's true nature without guilt. Rituals, in his practice, are symbolic acts meant to reinforce personal goals and emotional release, not appeals to a supernatural being. Then there's Alina, who identifies with the modern activist branch of Satanism, represented by groups like the Satanic Temple. Alina's Satanism is deeply intertwined with her activism, using satanic symbolism to champion causes such as separation of church and state and reproductive rights. For her, Satan is a metaphor for rebellion against oppressive systems, and her activism is an expression of her Satanist philosophy, advocating for social justice and religious pluralism. Our next story comes from Marcus, who blends elements of both theistic and LaVeyan Satanism. Marcus sees Satan as both a personal spiritual figure and a symbol of human traits such as independence and critical thinking. His unique blend of beliefs highlights the diversity within Satanism, showing that it's not bound by strict dogmas but is open to individual interpretation and synthesis. Lastly, we hear from Ava, who was drawn to Satanism through her interest in philosophy and literature. For Ava, Satanism is an intellectual and ethical stance, a way to question and challenge conventional moralities and societal norms. She finds empowerment in the Satanist ethos of personal sovereignty and views rituals as a form of existential exploration, a means to confront and understand the deeper aspects of the human psyche. These stories, each unique and personal, reveal the multifaceted nature of Satanism. They show a community not defined by a single belief or practice, but characterized by a spectrum of interpretations and experiences. From spiritual seekers to secular activists, from individualists to those who find strength in community, the world of Satanism is as diverse as the individuals who comprise it. In this segment, we explore the role of Satanism in contemporary society, focusing on the legal and social challenges faced by Satanists and the activism within their communities. This exploration uncovers a picture far more complex than the commonly held stereotypes, revealing a movement deeply engaged in issues of religious freedom, equality, and social justice. Satanists, particularly in the Western world, have faced a variety of legal and social challenges. Central to these is the issue of religious freedom. Satanists, like adherents of any belief system, seek recognition and the same rights afforded to other religious groups. However, the stigma surrounding Satanism often leads to legal battles over the right to practice their beliefs openly. One notable example of such a challenge occurred when the Satanic Temple sought to place a statue of Baphomet, a figure often associated with Satanism, alongside a monument of the Ten Commandments at the Oklahoma State Capitol. This case highlighted the struggle for religious plurality and the right to equal representation in public spaces. Though controversial, it raised important questions about the boundaries of religious expression in a secular state. Beyond the courtroom, Satanists often face social challenges. Misconceptions and fears about Satanism can lead to social ostracism, discrimination, and in some cases, even threats of violence. These experiences underscore the ongoing need for greater public understanding and tolerance. Turning to community and activism, many Satanist groups have become increasingly active in social and political spheres. The Satanic Temple, for instance, has been at the forefront of advocating for religious equality and the separation of church and state. Their campaigns often use satanic imagery and themes to challenge religious privilege and promote secular values. One significant area of activism has been in support of reproductive rights. Satanist groups have argued that laws restricting abortion access infringe upon their religious beliefs about bodily autonomy. By framing these issues within a religious context, they bring a unique perspective to the broader debate on reproductive rights. In education, Satanists have campaigned for the inclusion of satanic materials in schools where religious materials are distributed, advocating for equal treatment of all religious perspectives. These efforts are not about proselytizing but about ensuring that if one religious viewpoint is represented, others should be as well, in line with principles of religious freedom and diversity. Community support and engagement are also vital aspects of Satanism in contemporary society. Many Satanist groups organize charitable events, support artistic endeavors, and provide a sense of community for those who often feel marginalized by mainstream society. Through these actions, they seek to dispel myths and build bridges with the wider community. In conclusion, the role of Satanism in contemporary society is multifaceted. It encompasses legal battles for religious recognition and equality, activism in social and political realms, and community support and engagement. These efforts highlight a movement that is not only about personal belief but also about affecting social change, challenging norms, and advocating for a more inclusive and just society. Today, we confront one of the most enduring and damaging stereotypes about Satanism, the label of evil. This segment critically examines the origins and persistence of this label and contrasts it with the actual beliefs and practices of Satanists. Additionally, we delve into the moral and ethical frameworks within different branches of Satanism. The label of evil has been historically attached to Satanism, largely due to its association with the figure of Satan, traditionally seen in Abrahamic religions as the embodiment of evil. This perception is further reinforced by sensation